Hey, we're live, guys. Hopefully, we'll get some viewers here coming in just a second. It's just a tune-up report today on a Stryker 955, but I figured we'd kind of go through here real quick, show you a little bit about this one. This one was not what I call a typical, what typically everybody asks for. Um, so, just go through here a little bit. Let's see if we can get the camera a little more here in the frame. Alrighty. Yep, so, yeah, that's not a problem. I don't know if this thing's going to let me see video or any of the messages or not as we're going along. Alright, so, anyways, where we're at here. I wanted to go through here. Mr. B. Mr. B, this radio's for me. Oh. Anyways. Just being a little humorous. Alright, so first of all, I want to talk about a couple of things that we did. Let me set this up here kind of on the side a little bit. Let's see if we can get the camera in here. We'll start out with a few of the basics. Okay, a lot of guys don't do this, and I do. I actually use heat sink cement, and I put a small drop on these three primary potentiometers. And what that does is that actually makes sure that the biasing doesn't move once it's already been preset. So it's actually very important, especially on the MOSFETs. These two here are very critical because of the fact that they retain the voltage on the primary outputs. The other one retains the voltage on the driver. The driver's got a little more flexibility than the other ones because of the fact that you've got multiple transistors that are running together. So yeah, so that's the reason why we put that on there. Like I said, it's not something that everybody does. That's just something that I've done as far as for safe practice. We went ahead and pulled out the original tip 36, I think. Yeah, 36 that they use in here. And now this is the first one that I've had. I've had a few people ask about this, and I've not actually had an actual request for this to be specifically installed. So I went ahead and ordered a 10-pack here the other day. That's what I've been waiting on, so that we can go ahead and get this radio done. So, one of which is the physical size of the component itself. It's a little taller, definitely wider. Set that off here to the one side. So there is a considerable difference in size. Now, I've been playing around with this a little bit here on the bench for the last hour, and I went ahead and I did the normal tune that I would normally do for a customer that asks for the specifications that this one did. So I kind of wanted to see what the differences would be, and yeah, I have seen enough of a difference that I can say that it is worth putting the max mod in. One of the things that I noticed is the heat dissipation. It does seem to help as far as in relationship to running a little bit cooler. This particular radio actually is running quite a bit cooler than most do, even from the factory. So, there was only about with this one here on sideband, which is what I've been hammering on. There's about an 8-degree difference in temperature. Now, one of the other things too that I did is the max mod comes standard with just a standard thin little mica. The original one comes with the ceramic plate. Now, it just so happens, because of the fact that I have had such a hard time finding this exact size for the ceramic plate or backer, that I actually have the correct one that I need for this. So instead of having that thin little sheet, get the light here off of that. There we go. All right. So these are actually the right size for the max mods, which these I've actually been using even on the smaller transistors. So did a little extra upgrade, no charge. Most of the time, as you guys know, I give away more than I actually charge for in most cases. So let's see. So that's one of the things that I wanted to talk a little bit about. The other side of that too is, now I use two different ones. This is kind of a generic version of the Arctic Silver, and I really like this. But there again, you can see the differences in the size of the tubes. The Arctic Silver, that's about $30 for that tube, versus about 15 for about 3 times as much. So, I use this very sparingly. Most of the time, I use this only when the customers request that. Like I said, there was a few things that the customer asked for, so we went ahead and just went a couple of extra little steps. The other thing that I typically try to do as a standard whenever somebody has these comp tuned for full power, and I went ahead and did it anyways on this one, even though it really wasn't a requirement. I actually put or install a copper spreader right here to go ahead and help suck up some of the heat off of the audio chip. So that was something that was added. We installed the filter caps, as far as the larger filter caps, go ahead and supply some extra voltage there and keep things a little more stable. Again, I know this radio is going to be used primarily for sideband. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about on this one here is I have this beautiful Kester solder, and I've got about 4 rolls of this. This is some really awesome stuff. So everything that we went ahead and used, I went ahead and used the premium. This stuff here cost about $115 a roll, guys. So I use this very sparingly, and I use it on very select installations. The reason why I say that is because of the fact that this actually has a small amount of silver that's actually into the solder itself. It's the reason why this one's so expensive, besides the fact that it's very, very fine solder. So I use this for repairs of cold solder joints. That's one of the major things that I use it for. And just because of who this guy is, I figured we'd just step it up one more notch. So, because we didn't have to use that much. So we did that from the factory. The your CBP or your external speaker jack, I went ahead and beefed it up just a little bit. I didn't like the factory solder on that, so I went ahead and resoldered it a little bit more. We went ahead and rebuilt your factory traces up just a little bit using the silver solder that I have to go ahead and apply a little more current, and that way we've got a little less voltage drop here at your finals. So that was one of the other little things that I wanted to go ahead and add to that. And for some reason, if I'm getting any comments, it's not showing. So let's log in here via the phone. I don't know, man. This thing's just wacky how this thing works. Alright, so we'll turn that off. Mr. Nobody, hello. Good evening time or good afternoon. Ruben, we'll say hello to you. Let's see here. I'm not sure who that is, but we'll say hello to you. No, no three it looks like today. He is actually in the hospital right now getting an MRI for his ears. So that's where he's at today. Try to find here a place where I can lay the phone down. That way I can still read the comments as we're going along. Anyways, so with that in mind, we'll go through here and we'll get you some numbers and kind of go from there. Mr. B, this was the microphone that I was referring to whenever you and I had spoke. Like I said, I actually like these. It's a weighted microphone. It is a semi-noise canceling microphone. And the reason why I say that is if you look at this and use it versus some of the others, this is the SRA 158-4H, which the 4H is just 4-pin, standard wire. So, but I really like these microphones. I love the 198s. This is what I personally use out in the mobile myself because it's still almost like a stock mic, but it's not quite. So we go from there. All right. So typically we're gonna excuse me. Typically we would do AM first and then go over to sideband. This time we're actually going to go in reverse and do sideband first and then go over to the AM. So, hello, Mickey. I'll say hello to you as well, buddy. All right, so let's get this off of here. We'll put you on the other tripod. Figure out how I had that set up a while ago so we can get some numbers. How about I get the hands free? Alright, so what we've got here set up right now is we've got 50-watt slug in 1X position. We've got a 100-watt slug in RMS. That's what we're going to be looking at. Now, what's kind of nice about this, now this is with the variable all the way down, so you're not going to get much with the variable all the way down on sideband. But I try to do that. That way you can actually adjust it. I'm not sure what all equipment that you're going to be running, if you're going to do just barefoot only or if you're going to run an amplifier. So I kind of want to give you the best of all the worlds around with this. Hello, check 1 2 1 2, audio. So a little less than 10 watts on the RMS. Now that is all the way down. Hello, audio. That's just bumping it up just a little bit. Now, like I said, this is PEP, this is RMS that we're looking at. Okay, so the 50-watt slug is now in 2 times position, so 100 and 100. Test 1 2, check, audio. We're going to bring that RF power up a little bit more. Hello, radio, audio. We're going to put that at 12 o'clock. Audio. So numbers are pretty close to the same, about 85. Hello, audio. Okay, so we've got 70 on the RMS and about 85 on the PEP. There again, we are on sideband, so those numbers are going to be pretty close to the same. There's always going to be just a little bit of differentiation. You'll get just a little bit more if you turn it up the rest of the way, but like I said, this should give you enough to where you can actually play with it in relationship to your equipment. So we're going to turn this all the way up. We're going to go to the AM side of the band. And we're at about 15 watts on the top end. and then all the way down, I've got you set at about 3/4 of a watt for the AM. Hello, audio, audio. Now you're going to see that kind of hold back a little bit, and the reason why is so that we've got a nice clean modulation for the AM side. I know you were kind of particular about that. So, hello, audio. So you're not going to see much on the RMS. Now these radios really start to shine about 1.5 to 2 watts. Hello, audio, audio. Hello, audio. So we've got about 15 on the RMS. Like I said, nothing crazy, no crazy mods or anything like that. Just looking for the spectrally clean is what we were after. So through looking at the numbers there, let's go over here to the other meters. We can get this thing to pull into place here. We'll look up here. We're going to start with our oscilloscope, then we'll go over to the spectrum analyzer. So, nice, clean, even loops. That's what we want. Sideband, we'll go over the sideband, but it's going to be nothing but just a solid wall. Hello, 1 2 1 2 audio check 1 2. So most of you are familiar with the way sideband looks on these meters. All right, let's go over here. See if I can raise this stand up enough to get up here. I'm just feeling, guys, feeling a little lazy. So we're going to get up here to the spectrum analyzer is what we're going to try to do. You see my bald head in the background. Alright, so this around here. Alright, so we're going to stay on channel 38. We're going to start out back on our AM. Alright, so I went ahead and went a lot further out than what I normally do. I'm actually looking at about a 500 kilohertz bandwidth as far as for these, spectral. So see there, we don't have any extra noise. Check 1 2 audio radio, which is what we were looking for. Super nice and clean. We'll go over here, check out our lower sideband. Testing 1 2 1 2 audio. Nice and clean. We'll go over here to our upper sideband. Hello, audio. Nice and clean. Test 1 2 1 2 radio. Alright, so let's see here. Worldwide 425. Not much, buddy. Just sitting there doing a little tune-up video and showing everybody what's going on. Hello, Mr. Nobody. Yep, that's what we're after. 425. Like I said, that's what they were after, was a nice, clean radio. We're not looking for huge power. Like I said, this one's going to be used primarily for sideband. So, like I said, no radical modifications or anything like that. The closest that we did, like I said, to what I would call a radical modification to the overall system was right here, which was changing out if we can get that camera in here. It's a heck of a lot harder holding this camera and trying to figure out where we're at. But anyways, that's the major modification that we did. We didn't put any of our comp tune specs in it, with the exclusion of, we added the extra heat sink and upgraded a couple of capacitors in the circuit itself. just to go ahead and make sure that everything was better than up to par. So, all right, guys, hopefully you appreciate that. And I went ahead and put this over here on that tactical red. I like that better as far as for my eyes. It's just so much easier looking at the screen in that red than the blue. The blue just hurts my eyes after a while. So, all right, everybody. Hopefully you learned a little bit. Hopefully you enjoyed the little tune-up video. This one's a little bit longer, but the customer wanted a few other little specifications that we wanted to go ahead and make sure that we addressed and pointed out where everything was at. It's got beautiful receive on it as well. I don't think I've got the noise blinkers on. Let's see if we get anybody here locally. Yep. So.
I know there's what, 4 or 5 in there.
All right. So today's voltage, what we tested it at. Let's get over here. I actually had that set at 14.3 as far as the numbers that we were giving. That way we're at 14 volts. This is another reason why I upgrade the capacitors. You see a 0.3 volt drop. Hello, about 0.4. So it actually would have been a lot more. I do use just a standard. I've actually got 14 gauge running from an 8 gauge wire that feeds my switch box, and then I've got a pigtail that drops back down also. That's 14 that goes into the back of the radio. So if you don't want to lose any extra power, another thing that you can do to help keep the voltage up on these guys is go over to like a 12 gauge power cord. You can order those off of eBay, and they work out great. So, all right, everybody, I appreciate it. Oh, you're fine, 425. That's not a problem. No, that is not a 2030. These are the factory IRF 520s. Truthfully, I mean, everybody's got their own takes on that. The 2030s or the 2030 plus, which I actually do like a little bit better than the original 2030s. I've had really good luck out of just using what these actually come with. They come with, I believe it's the IOR, which is international. I've had really good luck. I have used those for many, many years. I also do use the Vichets from time to time, and I have had, really good luck out of both of those. A lot of it, like I said, is if you get into the earlier portion of the video, is it has to do with that. It has to do with just what we're doing with the bias voltage. Making sure that bias voltage can't move or change. That's actually the most important part of that. As far as to make sure that you don't have any issues with them, regardless of what it is. So, as far as an external speaker, there's actually several different ones, and it's very difficult because I know I've had several people ask about that too. If you're using it in a mobile, there's a couple different applications that work fairly good as far as speakers. I know as far as for here on the bass, what I've been using, you guys are going to kind of laugh at me, but I'm actually using a $40 sound bar from Walmart. They got a smaller version of this that does really well. It's kind of nice. Like I said, that's what I like as far as for the bass. And I know at least running 2,000 to 5,000 watts, I've not had any issues with bleed over or anything like that. For those of you that have had any of the radios set up with hi-fi, man, you hook it up to a sound bar. It's like watching Jurassic Park for the first time in your life. As far as the mobile, oh man, yeah, like I said, there's a couple different ones out there. Can't really give anybody any particular direction to go on that, other than there's a few of them that RCI made or Texas Ranger. that are really good. You know, for the most part, you do want to stay with about a 4-inch speaker if you want a good round sound coming out of those. But all right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. We've got this one done, Mr. B. This one won't go in the mail today. It will go out this week. They've actually had the post office shut down as far as on run mail. This week, with everything that's been going on, we've had some extreme weathers here with the ice cold temperatures. But we will get you out in the mail yet this week. So, alrighty. Well, hopefully, I don't know if there's any more questions here. Let me get back to that. Yep. There's several different modifications that can be done. Like I said, changing out the capacitors, that's one of the biggest things that I like to do. Like I said, because of the fact that it actually holds the radio a little more stable as far as on voltage. I like running the voltmeter on these myself, just because of the fact that I can see. I had one guy that was complaining because his radio was dimming down really bad, and he said, well, it keeps blowing fuses, it's doing this, it's doing that. He was running an 18 gauge wire, folks, off of the battery into the vehicle to power his radio. And he had probably, I'm going to say, almost 20 feet of wire. And that's just too much. I mean, the radio, I switched over and showed him that, it does have a built-in voltmeter. When he keyed down, it dropped 1 volt from what the system was showing. And then whenever you modulated it, drew it down from approximately the 14.3 that I would have here, for example. It dropped it all the way down to like 11 volts, and was wondering why he was having problems with the radio. So using the right gauge wire does help out immensely. I do recommend, if you're going to run multiple pieces off of the same wire or something, make sure you got something heavy enough that's coming in. Like I said, I use a switch box here on the workbench, where I've got my 8 gauge that comes into it off of my main power supply, and that I feed off of for whether it's my personal radio, whether it's the test bench radios, or doing the live feeds, which is this one right here. Like I said, I go 14 gauge. I've got 14 gauge that runs all the way to the back, and then this is actually 14 as well. So, alrighty. Anyways, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I've got to go to town and pick up a couple of screws that I do not have for another part, so I can get back on it, get it finished built, then on to the next project. So, next coming up, we're going to try to get back on that 24 pill, get it finished up for the customer. I've been waiting for 3 days for this little jewel, but they didn't send any screws. They said, oh, well, those are extra. I asked them how much. They wanted like $3 a piece for 4mm screws. I said, I'll check the local hardware first. So that's on my trip or agenda today, besides going to the post office for some other stuff that I've got to drop off, because they are still open, but in the town next door. All right, everybody, I appreciate it. Like I said, we'll catch you on the next rebound. Take care and bump.